Welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Rath Wang. Fiji Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka went on a 10-day high-profile visit to China. What's worth noting is that it was just ahead of the U.S. allies-led Pacific Islands Forum. We'll look at how the U.S. and China are competing to win influence over Pacific Island nations. Joining us today are Liu Fu-kuo, National Chengchi University Institute of International Relations Research Fellow; Kuo Yu-jen, National Yat-sen University Institute of China and Pacific Studies Professor. A very warm welcome to both on the show today. China has been pushing hard to boost ties with Pacific Island nations. We've seen Beijing sign security agreements with the Solomon Islands and send police force to Kiribati, a country just next door to Hawaii. China also supported the building of 10,000-person stadium in the Solomon Islands, as well as the presidential palace in Vanuatu. Professor Liu, why is China doing this? What is behind their infrastructure projects? What is their aim?
Since China is a latecomer, China is now trying to catch up with all the progress made by Australia, New Zealand, the US, Japan, even including Taiwan. So in this consideration, diplomatically, China is trying to find any reasonable way to connect with regional countries. And in particular, lately, as you pointed out, three countries, China is trying to help with this infrastructure project, which directly connected with Belt and Road Initiative, stretched down to the South Pacific. So basically, looking from diplomatic angle, it is very clear China is trying to win friendship and also support from the region by giving more economic aid, especially infrastructure.
Professor Kuo, is this ulterior motive to counter the U.S., or is it just China's attempt to win more allies?
I believe China's move to South Pacific is basically duplicating this is so-called A2AD strategy, anti-access and area denial strategy from the Imperial Japan during World War II. And first of all, in terms of the strategic importance of Solomon Island, Solomon Island is almost the hub for Eastern and Western Pacific. And Solomon Island, as we know, during the World War II, lots of important naval battles happening surrounding Solomon Islands, including the famous 1942 battles of Coral Sea. That was very decisive ending for the Imperial Japanese Navy and also US Navy during World War II. And not to mention the importance of Kiribati. It locates in the center of the globe. It is the best location for China to make good observation on any move of US forces in the Pacific. So not to mention this area, South Pacific, basically occupy all the access from US forces from Hawaii to Australia, and also the channel from Australia to East Asia, including from Australia to Guam and from Guam to Okinawa. So South Pacific really bears very important geostrategic importance in the bigger picture.
Professor Kuo, it's interesting you mentioned the Solomon Islands. Solomon Islands was a diplomatic ally of Taiwan and switched recognition to China during the Tsai administration. How does this switch affect in terms of U.S. influence in the region?
It is actually out of China's Belt and Road Initiative. The original version of 2013 BRI did not have the route to South Pacific. It was not until 2015 Chinese government added this new route to South Pacific. And the first target is actually Solomon Island. Of course, China knows very well of this geostrategic importance of Solomon Islands. So that's the reason why, as you mentioned earlier, April 20th of 2022, China and Solomon Islands signed this security agreement. But the problem is the script of this agreement was never made public to the international community. And that was not until the Australian press, ABC, one of the reporters released the possible script of China Solomon Islands security agreement. So China's focal point to South Pacific is always about geostrategic importance. So since starting from 2015, China started to add on more foreign aid assistance and also debt loan program to those island countries, including Solomon Islands, of course.
It's interesting you mentioned debt. Professor Liu, you mentioned earlier how the Belt and Road Initiative comes in, and in terms of support for the Pacific Islands, a lot of it is actually in form of debt. How does this relate to what Professor Kuo mentioned in terms of the geostrategic ambitions of China?
Since 2019, the Solomon Islands shift diplomatic recognition away from Republic of China, Taiwan here. And China already moves in, connect all the effort with their Belt and Road Initiative idea. So those security pact signed between China and the Solomon Islands show that there may be some direct relevance to building a stronghold. That was a reason why immediately after the information release, the US, Australia, New Zealand feeling strategically concerning about the future development. China would be advancing into this particular corner of the South Pacific. And basically, if China would be able to go through this project supporting the Solomon Islands, build two specific dual-use port, military and also commercial port on the soil of Solomon Islands, it will serve as a breaking point to the Indo-Pacific strategy, which the US, Australia joined together, trying to manage the whole region. But I think this is something critical for those US airlines looking into potential difficulty. But of course, more importantly, China utilizing this infrastructure support to those economically developing countries. Even during the time, the US, Australia did not really pay much attention to those neighbors. And up until that moment, gradually they are coming back with this support, especially on economic development.
Is it too late, though? Is there still time for the US and allies such as Australia and New Zealand to pull these strategic Pacific Island nations back to their realm?
Very good question. This question has been here around in the region for quite a few years, especially after 2022. The Solomon Islands signed this security pact with China. Regional countries have been asking similar question, whether we might be able to still catch up with this progress. So the US already immediately after that announced they want to resume their embassy, which the US left for 3 decades in the region. They are trying to come back, redevelop their embassies in some countries. The Solomon Islands is the first one. The US is moving in, trying to reconnect, strengthen their connection with regional countries.
As a matter of fact, China's foreign aid to South Pacific only accounts for 9% of total foreign aid to all those countries at South Pacific. The number one creditor and donor is still Australia. As number one, occupy more than 40% of all the foreign aid to South Pacific. And number two is actually Asian Development Bank, which is dominated by Japan. And China now ranked number 3 again. You only occupy 9%. So in the past, starting from year 2015 to 2018, China started to increase its foreign aid to this region. Accounts for $1.3 billion US. But meanwhile, during the same period of time, Australia donated more than $6.6 billion US. So China really does not donate that much to this region. Number two, with the economic slowdown of Chinese economy, the newest number shows China only donate $241 million to this region year 2021. And so I do not think it is too late for the U.S. and its allies to catch up or to redeploy, as Dr. Liu just mentioned. The U.S. government retrieves embassy from Solomon Island at the year of 1993 with the end of Cold War. And the same applied to Japan as well. Japan retrieved its embassy from Solomon Island also in 1993. And both countries redeployed their embassies at Solomon Islands 2023. So it's after 3 decades. The U.S. government and its allies finally reconceptualize the strategic importance of South Pacific at the current stage.
Professor Liu, there's been long debate in Taiwan in terms of, is diplomacy worth these smaller nations that the GDP dwarfs that of Taiwan? But as we talked earlier, there is a strategic aspect to this. Do you think Taiwan pursuing or restoring these relations actually makes Taiwan safer?
Of course. Currently, everyone knows that Taiwan has only 12 diplomatic allies. Through all kinds of connection, all the members of our diplomatic allies have their membership in all different international organizations, including United Nations. So basically, with these diplomatic difficulties, we can connect well with our diplomatic allies, including the current 3 island state, Pacific Island states. They are members of UN. We can work closely with them, helping them, and especially the main concern now in the Pacific region. Number 1 issue is economic development. Second one is climate change. So these happens to be Taiwan's diplomatic focus. So if we can help and build up these strengths, actually we can go through our diplomatic allies, stretch connecting with all different international organizations, as well as other members, which would have a direct connection with 3 diplomatic allies in the Pacific. So I consider, even if the island states basically are very small populations, small GDP, small economies, but basically they are representing as a sovereign state in the United Nations system. So we could really manage through their relations. And also on the one side, it shows that Taiwan can contribute broadly to international community, not just helping 3 small island state diplomatic allies, but also we can support regional initiative, the one I mentioned, economic development as well as climate change in the entire South Pacific. So we can go through our diplomatic allies proposing such an initiative, which would be very useful.
How much does this contribute to Taiwan's security as opposed to international recognition?
Of course, this is a diplomatic influence for Taiwan, not just making effort directly to our diplomatic allies, but also we can show how Taiwan can have such a high presence in the South Pacific through these regional efforts. But of course, this is not just doing by Taiwan alone. We will have to work with the US, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. Combining together, we can make a lot of things happening. As a result, it will bring much more positive fruit to Taiwan's security overall. So I'm not talking about direct payback from those influence, but I'm talking about broader implication which Taiwan can contribute to.
Professor Kuo mentioned Palau earlier. What's been in the news lately is Palau President Whips Jr. warned that Beijing is weaponizing tourism to pressure the country to cut ties with Taiwan. He said, quote, "Our relationship with Taiwan should not be questioned by anyone." Do you believe that will hold?
All 14 island states in South Pacific, three states I have to particularly mention and emphasize the importance. Those are Marshall Islands, Micronesia, and Palau. Those three states basically occupy the channel from Hawaii to Guam, and also from Guam to Okinawa. So that's what we term first island chain, second island chain, and third island chain. So the U.S. government basically has a long-term subsidy and assistance program toward these three countries. That is called freely associate states. So they have compact of free states to support these three countries from China's infiltration or penetration. But unfortunately, in recent years, China increases espionage activities at Marshall Islands and also Micronesia as well. And in terms of Palau, China is basically utilizing Hong Kong capital to control all the tourism at Palau. As we all know, income of tourism is very important income for Palau.
Are spies blended within that as well?
Possibly, yeah. So as of today, more than 80% of Palau's, for example, like hotel cruises, all controlled by Hong Kong capital. So China basically could leverage, weaponize, in President Whips Jr.'s term, to weaponize this monopoly on Palau's tourism to influence Palau's foreign policy. So the situation between Taiwan and Palau is getting more and more shaky every day. I would say that. But again, since Palau is one of these freely associated states to the United States, so it is not so easy for China to flip over Palau's political stance.
Professor Liu, let's talk a bit about the Pacific Islands Forum. This was right after the Palauan president or the other, after he talked about this influence, and also after the Fiji Prime Minister visited China. How much of these conferences will help stop the tide?
Basically, Pacific Island Forum is helped and supported by the US and Australia for the last few decades. It serves as a very important regional platform for 18 countries, including all the members of a state in three big island group. So basically this international platform is so important for every small countries, because individually they cannot put up their strengths or importance on the platform of an international forum. But together, 18 states supported by big country, the US, Australia, European Union, Japan, New Zealand, they can really put as an important platform because for island state individually, currently they are facing similar challenge. As I indicated, climate change. This is not just for one country, one island state. Every one of them are suffering from the challenge of climate change, and also basically in the same region, economic development is something critically important for all island states. They do not have a much industrialized base, so they will need such a big platform to bring in international players, supporting them, and also connect with this economic development. So what I see every year, this Pacific Island Forum can develop and also gradually shape up joint initiative or joint consensus moving forward. But asking if whether Pacific Islands Forum will be able to help resuming such a development. Don't forget, China is also beefing up their effort, connecting with most of the members of Pacific Island Forum. So China is also doing similarly outside of US, Australia, New Zealand. So I consider this platform is very important for individuals to bring and also support, resume their confidence. But in this, the same goal, different approach by different countries supporting different states. But one thing I'm concerning with currently is actually among 18 countries of this Pacific Island Forum, they are actually divided into different groups. Some countries now have a much closer relations with China. So this may be something this forum would have to join together, trying to find a common way to encourage their members working together.
Moving closer to China, Professor Kuo, there was an airstrip that China helped build in Kiribati. And we've seen more exercises, say with Taiwan's neighbor, the Philippines, with the Balikatan exercises bringing in Australia, New Zealand, even France. Do you feel with the US being more proactive in the region, we'll see more of these Pacific Islands also being part of or some way involved in these military exercises?
Following what Dr. Liu just mentioned, I will start from the forum, the importance of the forum again. The South Pacific Forum is a very important occasion for stakeholders, including countries including like Taiwan, Japan, Australia, the US, and New Zealand, to find niche to provide necessary assistance or development to this region. So as you mentioned, security aspect, no matter it's traditional security or comprehensive security aspect, the forum provide a very important occasion for this necessary communication between countries within the region and also outside the region. As I mentioned, all these stakeholders. So in terms of comprehensive security, as Dr. Liu also mentioned, this maritime security as well, and ecological preservation of this region as a whole. And then, so from comprehensive security to traditional security, as Dr. Liu also mentioned earlier, I believe this South Pacific Forum will gradually turn into institutionalized mechanism, just like ASEAN. And it is actually good for all stakeholders in this region. All these 14 small island countries duplicate something like ASEAN-centric principle. All these countries not to pick side between China or these states. It is not only good for those small island countries, it's also good for all stakeholders. By neutralizing these political stance of all these small island countries, it will make China very difficult, if not impossible, to militarize all its current doings to all these island countries. And I also believe if there is no obstacle at all among all the waterways in this region, Australia will play more and more important role in terms of traditional security at this region.
Professor Liu, do you feel Taiwan could actually have a seat at the forum as well, or do you feel that is a bit far-fetched at this point?
This question actually was considered almost 1 or 2 decades ago, because during that time, we still have quite a number of diplomatic allies in the region. During that time, there was a particular effort, diplomatic effort by the government here. Immediately after PIF, Pacific Island Forum, we will have a bilateral which means PIF plus Taiwan. We usually used to run this dialogue right after Pacific Island Forum annually. And our either Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs will travel to the South Pacific and meeting with a number of diplomatic allies leaders. So that was the time we made so much effort connecting with them. But unfortunately, so far, we still have only 3 members inside PIF. So I do think, ideally, Ministry of Foreign Affairs would have to come with a strategy trying to come back, or at least to connect with the PIF annually. But since we do not have that many members of PIF recognizing Republic of China, Taiwan here. So I do think this is critically important for decision maker in Taipei thinking through how we are going to come up with that. But realistically, it is a great challenging step for the government to consider how we are going to resume or get back to this platform meeting with other members. So that is a very good approach. If we can consider for the next step, this definitely would be something decision makers in the government would have to ponder with.
So number of allies comes first. Thank you very much for both of your insights. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching our show today. Stay safe and see you next time.